Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. Thank you for joining us on the week-ending edition, the TGF edition of Morning Spring here on Western Spring Television. And of course, what we do here is to have very frank and deep conversations about issues of public importance, things that has to do with you, distinguished viewers across the world, and it's aimed towards having a better and a functional nation, the kind of nation we are proud of. Good people, great nation, this nation called Nigeria. And hopefully, by God's grace, when we put our act together and we do whatever we have to do, we will get there and Nigeria will prosper. Femi Ojo is my name. I welcome you to the program today. And of course, as we do on the program, we look at the major stories, the headlines from our major dailies every day. We'll give it to you. The papers are in, I dare say. And at the other side of that, we then get talking about these issues, governance, polity. Sometimes, as we say, from A to Z, from anthropology to zoology, everything, it's about you. And it's about, the nation, the Nigerian state, and of course, the Nigerian people as well. We've talked about, especially some of our editions on this program this week. We've looked at what is happening in River State, and it seems the dust is not that is yet to settle, is far from settling, because we learned there is another River State as of Assembly Speaker right now. The camp loyal to the River State, just a few of them, like three, is a three-man house of assembly. And of course, you have the house that has been led by Honorable Speaker Martin Amaule. But then it's quite a dramatic one right here in Port Harcourt. That's the Garden City in River State. But then we keep our fingers crossed and we look into this development. The issues about, the controversial cybersecurity levy is still there, and there have been clarifications, allegations, counter allegations. We learned that the bill to repeal that particular law had to be stepped down at the National Assembly 2 days ago, and we learned, they say, is to allow the National Assembly to look into it, and they refer it to the appropriate committee to look into the workings of that particular law, because it's not just a bill again. It has been signed and is now a law. Many things to talk about. We'll be joined on the program by a critical stakeholder to look at governance, elections. We have off-season election later in the year, the Ondo election and the Edo elections as well. The primary of those parties that will be involved in those elections, you still have skirmish, obviously there were skirmishes, but then it seems some of the contestants are not backing down. We learned one of the aspirants, Jimoh Ibrahim, is Senator of the Federal Republic in Ondo State, is going all the way to court to say it is an illegality. What happened a few weeks ago is not the way it's supposed to be. But then it is right, to seek redress the appropriate way as well. But then we get to see whether it will be Lucky Aiyedatiwa, that's incumbent governor, who's the candidate of the APC. And that candidature has been contested by many persons, including, the Jimoh Ibrahim that I talked to you about. And of course, Bukola Idowu is the candidate of the PDP right here in Ondo State. Other parties, we have their candidate as well. Cross our fingers are crossed. We'll go on this break. When we come back, we tell you, we reel out the headlines from the papers. It's the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, beaming live and loudly on channel 190 on StarTimes DTT, and also on our YouTube, Facebook handles, all at Western Spring Television. I'll be back. right, as I said, the papers are in, and let me take it out from the front page on the Vanguard for today, the Vanguard newspaper. And you have here very boldly written Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. That is one project that has elicited so much controversy, not even for the substance of the project, but, the political dimension to that as well. Project not okayed by National Assembly. Procurement for probe. Really? Okay, that's coming from the reps. All right, and it has these riders ask ministers of works, finance, justice, AGF to send all guarantees, credit enhancement instrument to National Assembly. Say project didn't get National Assembly, that's NASI's approval. So why go ahead? Something that wasn't, approved, endorsed by, the National Assembly. By the way, was it in the budget? Was it passed? We get to know in the coming days as well. And of course, you see the picture there erected of that particular project, signaling what it is about. And Federal Government of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Federal Ministry of Works, Abuja, Lagos, Calabar, Coastal Highway Project. The contractor is High Tech Construction Company Limited. It seems reps are saying it didn't go through the normal highway. I mean, by the way, many Nigerians are saying there's this urgency about this project that seems unusual. But many persons will say, does it matter? Just give us this project and do it. Very well. Moving on. Senate reps disagree on implementation of cybersecurity levy with riders. Both arms of National Assembly passed the levy into law after public hearing. That's coming from the Senate. And say levy not punitive but aimed at protecting national security and economy. Okay, all right, let Nigerians be the judge of that. IMF cautions federal government against CBN Act amendments. Many persons will say IMF again. What exactly their interest in Nigeria? But then they're one of those, multinational agency, international agency, by the way, the Waterbrooks agencies. Federal government telecoms operators disagree on tariff hike. Okay, the telcos are saying the cost of operations can remain the same. They want to review it upward, but it seems they are being stored. Their decision is being stored by the federal government. 2.7 billion naira fraud. Ex-aviation minister Sirika daughter docked get 100 million naira bail. Okay. Edo crack in LP as youth leader declares dissolution of ESCO. You expect many drama to still play out in different parties as well. Senate okays a death penalty for manufacturers of dangerous drugs. Okay. The death penalty for manufacturers of dangerous drugs, that means they see them as killers. And of course, that's what they are. But many persons will say it's not only those who are manufacturing fake products of, dangerous drugs that are killers. Anybody who, embezzle funds meant for the people as well, they are also killing in some way. And that kind of punitive measure maybe should be considered to go around. Cash transfer scheme raised household savings but had little order impact. That's coming from the World Bank. And deporting 317 Oshun indigenes from Lagos illegal. Falano. All right. At this point, I'd like to welcome Ladeji Alabi for some analysis on the headline segment. Ladeji, good morning.
Yeah, good morning
Thank
to
you
you,
for
Femi.
joining us.
Hope
Yeah.
I don't look like a deportee from Lagos.
All right, many talking points from the Vanguard. It's quite
course,
a
yeah.
very busy one. But let's start from there, in as much you have talked about it. Deporting the 317 Ocean indigents from Lagos illegal. Falano. There has been this back and forth about some people being dropped in Oshun, and they said they were brought from Lagos. There were some denials. The Osun State government released a statement and said they are going to investigate. And investigation doesn't mean an approval. But the letter of Sikh, Femi Falana, is saying it is illegal. Your take on that?
Of course, yes, by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, every Nigerians have the right to live, do their businesses, work, in any part of the country.
Yeah.
If you choose tomorrow, you say you want to go and live in Kano, you are a Nigerian and you have that right. But deporting people, I've seen a lot of people play the devil.
You're saying Kano doesn't have the right to say we don't want you?
No, you do not. You do not have the right. Okay. Same Oshun cannot say, okay, you are a Kano indigene, you cannot live in Oshun. Now, as much as the person is a Nigerian, you can confirm this person is a Nigerian. He or she has the right to live anywhere in the country. So now, doing internal deportation in the same country, what signal are we sending to ourselves? And this is not happening from even a state in another region. It is happening between two states in the southwestern states that speaks almost the same Yoruba language. That we know we are together, we are one. Before election, the conversation was around some people want to come and take our land.
Yeah. Is
it the Osun indigene that want to go to Lagos and take the land again? So I think we should think this thing through before we act on some things. Yes, there may be security challenges that you feel you want to tackle, but deportation of people from one state to another in the same country is a no-no, and it's very
you just put a security angle to it, and many persons want to ask and say, if actually is on security level, the moment there were those persons that were, ferried from Lagos to Osun State, were they handed over to the Nigerian police? Were they handed over to the security, agencies as well? And, Lagos on his part have not really been forthcoming on this part to say, why did that happen? What was their offenses, by the way? Because for you to take almost 370 or thereabout people, that can be one bus, that can be two buses, even if it's a luxurious bus.
Yeah, of course.
There has to be a series of buses. And so, what was their offense?
The same question you ask me is what people have been asking Lagos State government.
And they have been mute on that part.
Whatever their offenses, again I say, whatever their offenses might have been, even if they committed a crime, they are meant to be tried and, get whatever punishment in Lagos State.
Osun State is saying we are going to investigate.
Let them investigate.
2 days ago,
But I feel in the interest of oneness of the nation, there is no need for Osun State to maybe reciprocate in any way. You just need to have an understanding with Lagos State. And also Lagos State government needs to understand that as much as these people are Nigerians, even if you want to deport a foreigner, the person should have committed the crime that you feel is against the law of the land.
There is even a process.
There is a process to it. So you don't just pick people up on the road. Okay, where are you from? You are from Osun. Or you just look at people. The same, I keep mentioning the last election, the same way we stereotype people. The moment you have a particular color of the skin, oh, you are from the East, you will not be able to vote here. So all these things, we don't need to stereotype anybody. We need to have an understanding that he or she is a Nigerian and he or she has a right to live here. He or she has a right to work here and work according to the law of the land. If they commit any crime, get them punished according to the law. According
to the law. Quickly, before we leave the Vanguard, there is, some unsettling, dimension to the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. The Vanguard is saying projects not okayed by National Assembly and procurement for probe. The reps are frowning.
Well, Femi,
but many persons will say, but it was in the budget, wasn't it? And the budget was passed.
What was it in the budget? Can you confirm it was in the budget?
No, I can't unilaterally do that.
Of course, yes. So, when you leave a vacuum, you've allowed people to put in whatever suggestion they have. And like you mentioned the other time, why a hurry? Why all the hurry about this project?
There is this urgency.
There is this urgency.
It's an 8-year project, and it's starting now.
A lot of people have even asked the question. I think former Vice President Atiku Abubakar asked the question: when was the bidding process? When was it done? Who were the organizations? Companies that bidded for this? You just unpicked one company, give out a 15 trillion naira project to them. Let's start immediately.
But if we say, why is it starting now? Many persons will still say, why can't it start now?
Femi, see, Nigerians need to understand that you don't just pick any project and you say you want to do. There are processes to these things. The Arise TV reporter was asking Dave Umahi the other day, the EIA assessment, have they been done? Where is the approval? Make it open to the people. You could see the response, you could see the countenance of the minister to her. You could see that it is obvious that he did not get that approval.
He said everything that needed to be done has
if
been gotten.
if it were to be done,
and the reporter was saying, can you make
it public?
Can
It's
you
as
show
simple.
us?
You know, that's the job of a journalist. The citizens deserve to know. David Umahi will not be spending his money on this project.
Right.
So why the hurriedness? Why the urgency?
Right.
Do you guys have anything to keep? I mean, to hide about this project? I think these are the questions the federal government and even Dave Umahi that is so head-bent on this coastal road that want people to travel from Lagos to Calabar in 4 hours need to answer.
All right, let's move to The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper. Guardian is next. Caveat emptor. How real estate firms, agencies fleece prospective property buyers and tenants. By the way, any property that you see caveat emptor, you know there is subsisting case on that. So you know, and so that's why the Guardian is saying there are many of such property that you know, estate agents will still put up for sale, and unsuspecting buyers will now be in problem. And moving on, one reportedly killed, several injured in fresh Okwama violence. Again. Okay. House of Reps direct CBN to halt implementation of 0.5% levy on transactions. Kaduna to relocate 359 schools over insecurity. To where exactly? Okay. Well, some persons will say, is that the solution now? Is it short term? Is it long term? But then security is very paramount as well. And Senate okays death sentence for makers of illicit drugs. IMF projects 24% inflation rate for Nigeria by year end. It's getting to that part that many Nigerians doesn't want to hear whatever IMF has to say again, because they believe they are part of those bodies that have, you know, that have given us ill advice so far. Ladiji, quickly, on The Guardian, it was on the Vanguard as well. Senate okays death sentence for makers of illicit drugs. The danger of illicit drugs.
Femi, there is no doubt in the fact that we have a serious crisis in our hands.
Drug problem.
The drug abuse rate now, you know, I was telling somebody this morning before we came on the show that at a time while we were growing up, you only smell the odor of, you know, marijuana from afar. But now literally on the road you see people,
and it even has some environment that you
go
before
that
you can see.
I mean, that you can even perceive the smell, but now you see it everywhere. You see different, you know, set of injurious chemicals that our youth consume these days, and it is sad that it's not even only the youth. Just yesterday, a case of a lady that actually inhaled too much of shisha. What do they call that thing? Died in the Ohiolei Teaching Hospital emergency unit after battling for her life for about 2 days. You know, these are some of the issues that we have in our hands.
That's a passive smoker.
She's not even a passive smoker. She did herself. She did she overdosed herself. You know, a lot of them will just say, no, this
injured,
thing, it's just, it's just flavor I'm smoking. You know, all these things are injurious to the health of the people. Now to what? Yes, a lot of people have come out to say, Senate, please don't hurriedly, because we also need to, put into consideration cases of, you remember the case of the person that, put hard drug in the luggage of a passenger at the airport in Lagos. We also need to look into some of these things. But by and large, I think we need to make it a capital offense. We are driving towards having a society whereby a young person that, normally cannot look into your face, the moment they are on hard drugs, look at you and tell you, bros, behave yourself, but also beyond this, can we just extend
this in another realm?
Of course, yes. Can we also extend, like you mentioned in your introduction, Femi, these people are killing our youth. Can we also mention people that embezzle money that are meant for projects, road projects? Instead of solving the problem pensioners fund. Instead of solving this problem, what do? They buy SUVs so that they can drive on those bad roads. And the people that doesn't have money to buy SUVs, what do happen to them? They die on those roads. Can we also make them capital offenses in this country and make sure that
contractors who takes projects job and doesn't deliver?
There is a project in this ocean that has been awarded as far back as 2009. a larger percentage of that money has been paid by the Federal Ministry of Works, by the federal government, and the contractor ran away.
Right.
So these are some of the issues we should be talking about. But in this, I support the Senate, and I think NDLEAs also need to do better. They need to go after these illicit drug manufacturers. And also, when you arrest these guys, I think one of the problems we have is, for example, the police arrest a Yahoo boy. What you do from him is you collect money from him. You've not solved the problem. Let him be tried. He is an internet fraudster.
Right.
If you arrest a drug, a illicit drug manufacturer, please prosecute them necessarily and make sure that it doesn't reoccur again.
Yeah. All right. Quickly, because of time, Daily Trust is next. Daily Trust newspaper. Reps ask CBN to withdraw circular on cybersecurity levy. Senate with riders. Senate committee justifies levy, but Falana support reps. Another son says provision unconstitutional. Levy will slow down financial inclusion and ESG. And of course, fresh violence as troops exit Okwama. What's causing that? South Africa Ramaphosa signs bill to recognize Muslim marriage. Pastor arrested over the filing of 3 minors. And insecurity, Kaduna to relocate 359 schools. GT calls shareholders approved $750 million capital raising. POS agents will not pay monthly tax, CAC registrar. And ex-aviation minister Sirika, daughter, arraigned and granted bail. On the last one, there is one character that we've spoken about on this program several times, Ladiji. Your Sirika has been arraigned finally.
Is his family's Sirika.
Okay.
Is his family's Sirika.
The former aviation minister, Hadi Sirika, and his daughter.
Of course.
They were docked, but they have been granted bail.
We
don't know if they have perfected the bail.
It is sad that, in Nigeria, I saw him yesterday, he was still waving at people and said, see a shameless human being.
Why?
He's shameless. Yes, I can say it.
That's a suspect right there.
He's
in the eye of the law.
No, so Femi, see, I think at times we need to borrow
the law.
and I know it is the law. And it is one of the things that these people hide under.
Yeah.
Oh, the law, and they will do everything possible to make sure. What have you heard about this guy that spent, that embezzled the pension fund?
Yeah.
What have you heard about the former accountant general of the federation? All those guys, what have you heard? He knows that nothing will happen to him. That's why he had the F-1 to wave at people. If you were to be in a society where you know that forever you cannot even become anything, you will cover your face in shame. And literally they are trying you and your daughter, and you still have the F-1 to wave at people. 2.7 billion naira.
Maybe his conscience is clean.
We complain about internet fraudsters.
Yeah.
This guy literally duped a whole country. You ask me how? How? Now this guy went to borrow an Ethiopian airline aircraft. He brought it to Nigeria, painted it. It is 2020. It is back then in maybe the 90s that you can go away with such crime. Than today, Femi, you can track any aircraft that is moving. And people track this aircraft. They see the aircraft move from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia to Israel for it to be repainted, the green, white, green color. And it flew back to Ethiopia, then 5-hour trip back to Nigeria. And you showed that to us as Nigerian airline, whatever. Which airline starts an operation with just a single aircraft? A private airline will not start with a single aircraft.
The young shall grow.
A private airline, Femi, will not start operation with a single aircraft.
Right.
Not to talk of a proposed national carrier. And now you did that, and after you left, he did that so horridly, just like David Umai is doing as if he's leaving office tomorrow. He did that so horridly that a day before their last day in office, he showed that to us, and that was all. That was all. No office, no counter, no nothing. And you guys are telling me in the eyes of the law. See, I think...
I'm not the one telling you.
No, I know.
It's in the eye of the law.
It is sad. Sincerely, Femi,
right.
It is sad. But I think we need to take our fight against corruption so seriously in this country. Because the people now see it as I will embezzle so much that all I need to do is just to embezzle the money I will use for court case along with it.
All right. Lastly, the Punch Coastal Highway probe wraps the summon Edo Umahi and the AGF. Works Ministry Defense Project. House panel gets 4 weeks to complete probe. All right. And Rivers crisis. Fulbara lawmakers lock horns again. Fulbara and lawmakers lock horns again. Much sorrows as under 17 hero Babangida is buried. Okay, that's on the sporting scene, sadly. And businessman, Lagos police Bika over 70,000 extortion allegation. And Senate okays death penalty for drug traffickers. Okay. Another paper said for manufacturers of illicit drugs, this one is talking about the traffickers. And that means we want to go the way of Saudi Arabia and Malaysia, some of those countries. And Q1 foreign debt servicing gulped $1 billion. That's in 3 months. And government under pressure to stop cybersecurity levy. And 2.7 billion naira fraud, court imposes travel ban on Sirika and daughter. And abduction, citizens slam IGP for detaining journalists beyond 48 hours. And Tinubu, Abiodun Amusun, others hail Awujale at 90. And DSA at this point, BAC to the Awujale of Ijebula and Obasikero at Daytona. Okay, but quickly, Ladiji. Abduction. Citizens slams IGP for detaining journalists beyond 48 hours. The FIJ guy.
Femi, if you ask me what was the offense of this guy, he did an investigation on a particular SSA to the president, former president, who awarded a school building contract to a restaurant, a food canteen, for crying out loud. Now, and what happened? The police went. It is a kidnap. It is abduction. Because, yes, I said it on Monday. Police of Nigeria have the right to call you for questioning.
Yeah. And to arrest them.
And they have the right to arrest. But the person you are arresting must know why you are arresting him. You picked up this guy. It was more like a case of lost person. The family, his office were already reporting a case of missing person before they got an hint that this guy was picked up by police. You left him incommunicado. You move him to Pantin, Lagos. From there, you flew him to Abuja. 2 days ago, his guys from Lagos and from FIJ, journalists around Nigeria, went to, you said he needs to get a surety. After providing the surety, after doing your background check on the surety, you came back to say no. The order from Abu says they should go back to 2 other conditions for him to be met before you release him. Femi, we are treating journalists like a common criminal. Why the real criminals are walking free on the streets?
Online yesterday, on X rather, a particular person posted and tried to say he smells the hand of the IGP in these. But the first PRO came out to say this has nothing
No. Well, you
do with the IGP. That's just the law.
You take first PRO seriously at your own peril.
Why?
He has never.
He speaks for the force, the entire force.
Most times he speaks what he doesn't know. I can say it to his face. He speaks what he doesn't know. It was this same guy that saw a virologist, his test tube that police saw. And they said he should bail himself because and he himself came out to say, no, I can't even imagine police officer. I need to know the police officer that released you with this. And on this guy's handle, you see a virologist. These are the guys that work during crisis like COVID-19. And a supposed scientist, police, PRO doesn't know that we need these people in the society. So I don't take him seriously again. Now, he said the IGP doesn't have a hand in it. Yeah. What does the law say? You cannot hold a suspect for more than 48 hours. You've held this guy for 9 days, for crying out loud. And sadly, they are talking about having a conference currently with the police in Abuja. They are talking about the rule of law. The same Nigerian police that abduct citizens and leave criminals
so you're saying it should have been arranged at the court if actually there is a case against him.
If you feel there is a petition against him, okay, guy, this is why you are being arrested. Okay, we take you to court. You charge him to court.
Yeah.
Why
Let
are you
him
detaining
defend
him?
himself? Yeah.
It's people that went to visit him, last week said they brought him out from a strong room, like a place where you keep hardened criminals. Right. Why? Because his offense was being a journalist. Right. And I think it is high time every well-meaning journalist come out to condemn this, because don't forget, there is a particular editor of a newspaper that resigned 2 days ago because his organization decided to apologize on something. These guys put their lives on the line to do most of this investigation. I've worked with a couple of them a particular time. You see them do things that normally you look at. Are you guys seeing? Because you just want to put out fact out there to people. But here we are. This is
at the risk of your life.
At the risk of
and that of your loved ones.
Of course, yes. Most of them, they even care less about, what their family feels about them again. We've seen Fisayo Soyombo go to prison because he wanted to, investigate some of these things. And now, the reward we give to them as a country is that we arrest them unlawfully, we abduct them unlawfully, we put them in prison, we and we allow criminals. The same police force PRO that you are talking about is the same person that said we should take a threat by a particular person in Lagos against some particular set of people during election as a joke. And now you are talking about the same person saying the IGP doesn't know about it. Well, you take him serious again at your own peril.
All right. That's Lade Jalabidia. That will be all from the front page of the Punch for today. And of course, what we do at this time is to, give you the headlines as it comes from our major dailies and to provide analysis. And that is what Ladeji Alabi has been able to do for us. Thank you, Ladeji.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
And God bless Nigeria. That's one of the things we can do. I know you have your thoughts about that.
No, of course, yes. I know. Apparently, we need to keep praying for our dear nation, Nigeria. We need to keep praying, but beyond praying, we need to show workings. We need to show if God will bless. If God says He will bless you, He will bless the work of the earth. You can't stay idle at home. You are not working, and you want God to bless you. God will not bless your idleness. God will not bless a lazy man.
Right.
If we want our nation to be good, as we pray for God's blessing, let us also work.
All right. That's Venerable Ladeji there, okay, on this one. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend as well. By the way, you should have a good weekend because your club side you're supporting has been blazing the trail.
Of course, yes.
So this is the time you do your shoulder like this.
We have peace of mind. That's why we wear red, white as our own.
All right, we'll go quickly on this break. And when we return, the conversation will continue. We'll start rather, and it is about governance and doing things rightly, especially a decision-making process in Nigeria on one of the most important decisions about leadership. I'll be back. All right, thank you for staying with us as well. And let me remind you, be me live on channel 190, Star Times DTT, and of course on our social media platforms as well, especially our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television and his Morning Spring, the TGIF edition. We just go through with the headlines, and of course Evelyn is there.
Of course, I'm not missing in action. Welcome, good morning, thank you for being with us. It's Friday, and if you know me too well, it's my best day of the week, and we are grateful to God for life. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Ride with us this morning.
All right, and I said it before the break, the conversation right now is about virtually, one of the most important decisions anyone citizens of a particular country can make is the decision to choose who leads a particular group of people, a particular community or society, but in this case, the nation, and of course, the subnationals as well, talking about the election process in Nigeria. As we usually say, and it's a convention, by the way, by definition, democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So, with the three lines of that definition, the people, it's the real essence of this decision making, and this is one decision that one must not trivialize. We'll be looking at governance, but essentially those who leads us. As we know, the general election was held in Nigeria in 2023, but then we have the off-season elections, the Ondo election and the Edo election be coming up, and that will be for the residents and the indigenes of that state to choose who will be their next governor. Godwin Obaseki will be rounding off his 2-term in office very soon, a couple of months. And of course, situation and circumstance and the constitution as well has thrown up Loki Ayedatiwa after the demise of his principal, Arakuri, the late Arakuri Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. So those two key decisions will be made in these two states. So to give us a sense of what it takes, the preparation, smarting out of what we experienced in the last general election, and a couple of elections have been had. I think the Imo election, it was held a few months ago.
Kogi.
Yeah, and the Kogi election as well, of course. And you know, the decision that people make, you get to live with it. Either is a reward or consequence. To give us a sense of that. Moving on is, you know, the executive director, Pact Development Initiative, Mr. Bukola Idowu. He joins us virtually from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Idowu.
Thank you very much. Good. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
All right. It's been a while. We are happy to have you again.
Same here too.
All right. Quickly about, you know, I'm so intentional when I talk about the decision-making process. So we just don't generalize and see it as many people do. It's an election, and you see people refer to those who take part in the third person singular or plural. They know themselves. It is not about me. It's about the people that, you know, they know how to do it. You know, let me quickly ask you, how important is electioneering process, and what essentially is the importance of having a smooth and credible election, either nationally or subnationally, before we go to the nitty-gritty?
Thank you very much for that question. And I think you were really spot on when you talk about the decision-making process, and as also very important, and at the same time is something very crucial to our national development, even states, even local government. Right. Now, one thing I tell people, and which we have to see either way, is that when it comes to election is the most important activity and process in the life of any nation, because that is a process that brings out leaders, people that will determine the trajectory of that government, of that nation, for a specified number of time. That is one. They bring out the trajectory, where the direction that nation will go for a specific number of years. That is number one. Now, it now comes down to individual. Now, these are the people that will govern and lead citizens. So, for instance, as a case of our national election, those people we choose in 2023 now are responsible for the well-being and what affects over 200 million Nigerians. So when you look at that, and I tell you, there is no serious organization anywhere in the world that joke with recruitment process, because these are the people that will drive your profitability. If, as a matter of fact, you are as strong, any organization is as strong as the people it recruits, and then you are as strong and stronger and make more profit as, the level and the intellectual capacity, the strength of the people that lead that organization. So the same thing for the state. So whatever will happen within our country and outside our country for the next 4 years, starting from 2023, we took that decision February 2023. And so those things that will happen in education, in defense, in health, in economy, every aspect in communication, I joined when you started talking, and the analyst was talking about the aviation industry, how the former minister was granted bail, and then you talk about the journalist that was arrested. These are decisions of government. So what I'm trying to say is that election is very, very important. It is not meant to be left for anybody to do on our behalf. It is something that is very important that we have to take part in, because it shows the direction and what we will be doing for the next 4 years or probably 8 years, and that is a decision we don't need to outsource to anybody.
Right. Evelyn.
All right, so you have been able to establish that any government that we have right now, it's a decision that was made as at the time when the people went to the poll. But then there is also the thing about the people being involved in governance even after the election, because a lot of people think election is about the campaigns, and also that very day, the D-Day, when they put their thumbs to the ballot to vote. We have not really had of issues where the electorate or the people recall probably their legislators or call out, their representatives for what they are doing that is not right. Why do you think this is so, and how do you think we can, as a people, begin to call out our representatives or recall them when they are not doing what we asked them to do?
So, and that has to do with our laws. That is one, and then the process at which we come by those laws, and then again the kind of immunity, or let me say the kind of structure we have built the law. That we came up with the law with to actually protect certain set of people. Let me explain what I'm talking about.
Please do.
Now, in the National Assembly, and as also it is at the State Assembly, you find out that laws are made in a way that they are very sentimental, most times not in the national interest. And I give you an example. When you have electoral laws being debated in the on the floor of the assembly, and then you find out that most of the perspective at which they look at it, and I am telling you authoritatively, most of the perspective, most times that they look at it, both from the opposition side and also from the ruling party, in that particular floor, is most times they look at things as if how does this clause going to make me to retain my seat, number one? How does this clause make me to come back to the assembly? That is number two. How does this clause is going to make our party to keep ruling or to win, or our party to be able to win the next election? That is basically some of the teachings are taught around some of these decisions you see. So you find out that now, when you look at, for instance, when PDP was there at the national level, most of our electoral act favors that particular political party, so they stretched themselves in power. Now, the only thing that took them out of power at the national level was when the opposition came together, and it became a game of numbers. So now we now begin to have from Muhammadu Buhari's time, when the Electoral Act was being amended, and most of these things are actually also favoring the APC now. So until we now begin, and that is very, very important, until we begin to have a national interest at heart when we debate things on the floor, whenever we want to have our decision making, even at the national, at the State Assembly, until we have a situation where state interest and national interest dominate our thought, then we are not going to make an headway. We now begin to make laws that favor us, that make us to come back, not even in the national interest. That is number one. Number two, let's now break down those of these laws you talked about. Do you even know it is easier to impeach a governor? It is easier to impeach a governor than to recall a legislator in this country, because the whole process is absolutely cumbersome. What it means is that for instance, to impeach a governor, you just need the House of Assembly to establish that a case of probably misconduct, and then they set up a committee, or set up a committee at times headed by the Chief Justice. And then when they establish all those, they come back to the House and vote and decide, and then the governor is hereby impeached, like you have seen just in the case of Edo deputy governor and some other deputy governor that has been impeached. So, but that is that. But to recall a legislator, one thing you have to do is that you have to involve INEC. Number one, INEC, we have to go back to the polling units and set up polling units as if they want to vote again. And then people must come back and vote that, look, we want this person to be recalled. And then you have to have, I mean, the constitutional provision also talked about you have to have probably a certain percentage of the voter, registered voter in that particular place, we have to vote to be able to bring that person back. Then a whole lot of things happen. Now, that has been tried once in the case of Dino Melaye in Kogi State, and that failed woefully, even when Dino Melaye was in detention. Now, Yaya Bello could not put that through because it's actually a cumbersome process. So if you ask me, it's absolutely difficult to do. So one thing we need to do, begin to look at again, is that how are we going to hold our elected official accountable?
Yeah.
And that's one thing beyond being recalled, but the most important thing is that citizens must have interest in what they do at the state assembly and what they do at the national assembly. You find out that most times we have what we call docile citizenry that just go talk. In fact, I can tell you that when you put 10 Nigerians down, I can tell you maybe 2 out of 3 maximum knows what the constitution, what the budget is saying. So they don't really bother. Now, they don't really bother about it because even the whole process probably is not even interesting to them. And that is dangerous. Now, what thing that has done and has been done theoretically in some other climes politically, and what I have seen that come into play in Nigeria is that you will have to make the whole process cumbersome. You make it not for only few to understand the process, and then you get the citizen to be disinterested in the whole process. So, and that is why that statement you made, come, they now begin to be they versus us. So citizens only feel that the time they are more important is the time of the election. And that is why there is a surge in vote buying, because when citizens feel that the only time I am important is the election, they tend to get and grab anything the politicians are bringing towards them.
All right, Mr. Idowu. So let's just, focus on the off-cycle elections coming on in Edo and Ondo State. I would like to start with home. I'm from Edo State, so let's just start with home. The election coming on in Edo State in September, 21st of September 2024, they've had their primaries, and of course, the primary did not go down without drama in both parties. In Edo State, APC, we had a primary take place in February, and we saw the Opus Odima-led committee announce, Idahosa as the winner of that election before the APC National Secretary, Publicity Secretary, said that election was inconclusive and called for another primary. And we had Monday Okpebolo come on as the winner of that primary. I'd just like to get your impression of the primaries that took place, even the PDP. We saw what happened with the PDP, the different parallel primaries that took place, Philip Shuaibu claiming victory, and also the one that actually won, Asue Igodalo, also claiming, or announced by the party as the winner of the primary. Your impression really about this drama that happened in the Edo primaries before we move over to what to expect in the main election?
So I can see on the screen 3 political parties, APC, Labour Party, and the PDP. And I can tell you categorically that the 3 parties, not just the 2, APC or PDP, the 3 parties, including Labour Party, had issues around their primaries. So it is not about those 2 parties. Those parties that did not have a problem with their primary are just the remaining maybe like 15 or outside these 3 political parties. And so I think that tells you something, because even the national chairman of the Labour Party have been, I mean, there have been a factionalization around that national chairman, and both of them are backing different candidates. But what it just seems, and the media seems to go with, is the Olumide Apata for that Labour Party. But I tell you, there are cases in court on that party, Labour Party primaries. Also, the way you have cases also in court with PDP and APC. But having said that, that tells you that this is not about these political parties. It is about the attitude of our politicians. Now, you will discover that the moment you move to have this conversation for Ondo too, it's the same thing playing out in this place. Then again, at the last election, 2023 election, general election, the party primaries to choose who will represent various parties took place in May 2022. And that after that party primaries, over 1,800 pre-election cases were filed in various federal high courts after that primary in 2022 that led to 2023.
Just for a primary?
Fact, for the primaries alone. Now, as a matter of fact, Supreme Court delivered judgment up to 2 weeks before the general election in February. And that is to tell you how serious this case is. If you recall, the case of Akpabio was decided 3 weeks to the general election in February. And it was a case of pre-election issue. So what am I trying to establish is that we have seen this trend. And let me tell you few motivations for this, because in most cases, it doesn't look like, in some instances, that, okay, these people had a terrible primaries. Number one is just the attitude of some politicians that felt, look, I don't need to declare to my supporter that I just accept like that. They want to shift the burden and the fault to the court and say, look, I was cheated at the primary. The court supported them. So at that particular point, they still have the relevance to say within their supporters to say, look, the court cheated our principal. That is one motivation. The other motivation why most of these things are like this is that, look, they also want to settle out of court. They also want to settle this internal crisis before the election, and they want to go to the election as a whole. So most times you also see that they use this to negotiate position. And then, oh, you are going to nominate this or you are going to nominate that, and then they use that to negotiate position. But all in all, in some other places, you have terrible party primaries. For instance, APC that have direct primaries where they don't even have credible party member register. You know, so these are some of the issues you have in those party primaries. But having said that, we are waiting for the courts to decide who will finally be on the ballot. However, according to INEC timetable, they have published the final list, and the only thing that can change that list if there is any decision of the court. But as it is today, the list INEC release are the people that are likely going to be on that on the ballot on the 21st of September.
Right. Quickly, let's just take it to Ondo State, talking about the primaries before we look at the preparations for the Guba elections properly. Almost the same thing happened. The primary that produced the incumbent governor of Ondo State, Lucky Orimisan Ayedatiwa, that primary didn't come without a lot of drama, violence, by the way. In fact, there is a particular local government, a federal local government, in which it was like primary election didn't hold. That local government, the skirmishes in Okitipupa, violence, in some part of the SLDO, Ilaje part, and many local governments of the state as well. And in fact, at the end of the day, Governor Loki Ayedatiwa has been announced as the flag bearer of the APC in the election. But some of the contestants are not backing down. Just yesterday, Senator from the state, Jimo Ibrahim, has gone to court to say we won't stand down. Many of the foot soldiers of the contestants too protested. Lushola, okay, many of them like that. The PDP owned didn't come without his own drama that has produced former Deputy Governor Bukola Idowu as well. Now, we just talked about what happened in Ondo State. And what we want to say, Mr. Idowu, this is 2024. Shouldn't we be evolving? Because when the primaries of political parties are this dramatic, sometimes very violent, so one might want to say, you don't have to be a professional to say so, isn't this an indication to what will happen at the Guba elections properly? Edo Ondo, these are off-season elections that one we expect that, the stakeholders will have time to put their house in order and the rest of it. But then drama, violence is still the order of the day. In 2024, let's even say we started democracy in Nigeria. Let's assume it started in 1999. Almost, 25 or 35 years down the line, we are still having these issues. Are we evolving? What does it say about us?
Well, I think we are not, if you ask me, in terms of violence, in terms of lack of credibility around our political party primaries, I tell you, nothing has changed from since 1999. Nothing has changed. It keep getting worse. Those people that will not do direct primaries, then you have accusation of camping delegates, buying delegates, and other contestant doesn't even have access to the rest of the delegate. Right. At the national level, you now begin to hear issue of dollarization. So we on the normal day, we're supposed to have improved. But unfortunately, this is where we are. And it is not us, and let me put it that way, it is not us as a nation that is not improving, and it is the political party that are not really improving, because what you see in political party is what snowball out in the open that we are seeing.
But humans, Mr. Idowu, humans, people run the parties.
Run the party, yes, that's what I'm saying. So just imagine if you have and again, we've left the administration of political party for some people, and nobody is interested in the political party. And that is why we need to stop removing the cobwebs and start killing the spider that called the cobwebs. We need to go to the root, which is the political party. How do we put our eyes on political party to do the right thing? For instance, now, even from my own constituency, which is the civil society, you will find out that most civil society did not even monitor or observe those party primaries. Most of the things people are talking about are from you, the media. The civil society, at some point, also abandoned the political party. Nobody is talking about them. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the election on September 21st and November, you will see all manners of observers, international observers, talking about the election as it were, but forgetting that whatever irregularity you see in that election stem from the political party. And again, you don't expect a stronger democracy when there is a weaker democracy within the political party. It doesn't really work, because these are the people that produce this. In fact, political party is the manufacturing plant to produce leaders that goes into the National Assembly, State House of Assembly, governorship position, and then that also get appointive position. So when we don't get it right, then we are likely going to have an issue. For instance, now, as you are seated there, I don't think none of us seated here can actually say, hey, this is the theory. This is the political theory of PDP. And this is where it differs from APC. And this is where it differs from Labour. And I tell you, go to some of their websites, you don't even find their philosophy there. You don't even, in fact, in some instances, you don't even have their constitution there. So we need to do more around our political party, or else this is what we are going to have. Now, we observe that election and we track it. On the day Ondo were having their election, APC, we recorded over 8 election violence just for political party primaries. 8. Not even the main election. And after that, you will recall that the campaign coordinator for APC, or Ayedatiwa, was also shot and killed. So these are the issues. However, one of the things we also need to do to have the right person in those political parties, I think we have to begin to have conversation around the incentive around political office. Probably if you reduce it, we will have a bit of sanity.
All right.
And, while you were talking, you made mention of a philosophy of political parties that it seems we do not have any here in this part of the world, in Nigeria. That's why we see lots of people really not focusing on a political party. We see a lot of cross-carpeting. In fact, in Edo State, in the last governorship election, there was a switch. Godwin Obaseki was formerly of the APC. He contested the first time under APC, while Eze Iyamo contested under PDP. But at the last election, there was a switch. He contested under PDP. Eze Iyamo contested under APC. And all across states, we have seen politicians jump from one party to another, jump from one party to another. How do you think as a nation we can curb or reduce this political prostitution? That's what people call it. You're jumping from one political party to another. And by the time those people are resigning, they will tell you, they will give reasons like they are no longer in tune with the philosophy of the party, or the party has moved away from what it was created for, and all of that.
Leadership issues.
The leadership issues, and more. How do you think as a nation we can reduce our politicians jumping from one political party to another? In fact, in Rivers State, we have about 27 legislators who moved from a party that brought them into the House to the opposition party, just like that.
Okay, so and I think that is very, 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 very disturbing. And let me quickly, we were doing some comparative analysis recently, and you find out that for instance, in South Africa, there are political parties that and even there are political parties in South Africa that for you to be their candidate, you have to write exams. You have to go through training. And so they want to bring out the best of the best. And so you have to, and why do you go through all those stuff? So that you can understand the political party ideology. Now, the ideology of this Mandela, because they will be having their election soon. Now, I think the ANP, they have an ideology, and they follow it. What you believe is what you go in. Now, you go to the UK, you see, even in Ghana here, even in Zimbabwe, and I'm talking about some of the African countries, but let's go even to the UK. You find the ideology of the Labour Party, the Conservative, totally different. And you know their stand on immigration, you know their stand on economy, you know their stand on defense. Go to America, you know the stand of Republican on defense, you know the stand of Democrat on issue of abortion, for instance, you know their stand on issues. So now you come to Nigeria, everything goes. Somebody wakes up today in APC and tomorrow sleeps in PDP, and then he have a ticket, which is supposed not to be. Now, for instance, in America, you can cross carpet, you can move. You understand? It's there in law, but you have to stay for a certain number of years before you can contest. So, which means you cannot just jump overnight and then go and pick a ticket and contest under a new party like we do in Nigeria. It's supposed not to be. And I think this is not rocket science. Electoral Act amendment is going on now. And again, this supposed to be at the doorstep, and INEC can also curb this by fixing, one of the ways is this, by fixing political party primaries in a single day. All political party must have their primary on a single day. If you have it that way, or within a short period of time, probably within 3 days. Now, because when you have it, where you are intending of going, if you lose in this place, those people already have a candidate. So at that particular point in time, it makes it difficult, unlike what you have now, that, this party will do their own 2 weeks, and then another party will do their own 3 weeks. In fact, some political parties in Nigeria don't even do political party primaries. So what they do is they will wait. So when they wait, and then whoever is agreed, for instance, now you see, okay, in Ondo State, can eventually just go to a court party. There won't be any political party, primaries, and then they just hand him the ticket. That is exactly what happened.
Mr. Odo, if I may butt in here, I think the amended electoral law has taken care of that. That any aspirant that contest in a particular political party, the moment you don't have your party's ticket, you are not allowed to move to another political party. Hasn't the amended electoral law taken care of that?
No. It has not. It has not. Don't forget that there has not been any amendment since after 2023. And if you recall, Obi left PDP and then picked the ticket of Labour.
But that was before the primary.
That was before was before the primaries. You understand? And that is exactly what happened. So you have people, who decide that, look, these primaries that I'm going for, I am going to lose, and then they move into the other political party. However, this is what we are saying. Even at that, then what is the minimum number of years you can be in a political party before you contest? Right. Is it 30 days? Is it 20 days? So you cannot say, okay, look, my party is going to have party primary tomorrow, and you saw the feelers that I'm going to lose, and you leave today. So that is one lacuna in that law. And you leave today and then you move. Don't forget, your primary is tomorrow, and you have even campaigned. You remember, someone like Obi went round the country also campaigning, for primary. So these are some of the things we expect the Electoral Act to fix. Probably, are you going to have probably a time by which you can be part of that political party? Is your name going to be on the register? For how long? And these are conversations that needed to be looked into. In fact, this caused a lot of pre-election issue in the last election.
All right. Before we go back to the nitty-gritty of the Ondo and the Edo elections, that will happen later in the year, we'll be talking about ideology. By the way, many of these parties in Nigeria, they still claim that they do. You talked about the Tories, that's the Conservative. In the UK, the Labour Party, they have the Toga, their popular ideology which they run on, Democrats, Republican in the US. For example, the APC in Nigeria, Progressive Congress, they pride themselves as the progressives. That's what they call themselves. The Labour Party prides itself as a welfareist party, and the PDP has its own as well. Are you saying that these are just nomenclature? They don't actually do that?
They are just nomenclature. I'm telling you, they are just nomenclature. They are just rhetorics. And I give you an example. So we can be academic here, we can be theoretical here. Yeah. When you look at Labour Party that say, oh, they are welfareist. Okay, then let's travel to Abia State and then see the programs of the governor representing Labour Party in Abia, whether it is welfareist or is progressive or is capitalist. You can't be a capitalist and a welfareist at the same time. It's not going to be possible. Theoretically, it's not going to be possible. That is number one. Number two is you look at, for instance, I know I've mentioned his name a lot today, Peter Obi, but Peter Obi gets into a political party that say, look, they are welfareists. But every one of us knows that Peter Obi is a capitalist. So how is going to do that welfareist? Do you think Peter Obi will be handing out welfareist humanitarian aid to people? Like that. So that is exactly what we are going to see. Then you see APC now saying they are progressive.
Yeah.
So what are they doing in terms of being progressive? Now, being progressive goes beyond infrastructural development. As a matter of fact, APC is more welfareist than anybody. Because, for instance, when you look at the budget that APC have for welfare of citizens, humanitarian cash transfer, and all those stuff, you find out that there are more welfareists. Let's take it from President Muhammadu Buhari tenure. These are the people that compile the register of the poor people in the society and then begin to do cash transfer to them. That is welfareist. These are the people that give palliative to people. So this is welfareist. So when you look and at that particular time, you now begin to ask yourself, do they really understand what they talk theoretically about being welfare, about progressive, about conservative? You need to also really understand that. Now, again, so you need to also pick their constitution and look at, where do we have? And I'm challenging anybody to look for that document that expressly articulate their ideology. They can just mention it is like this, and that is why it is easy for people to move from one party to the other, because there is no ideology. Most of the ideology and the agenda they have been very, very individual. You come to Osun, the governor have his few-point agenda. It is the governor, it is not even the political party. You see President Yar'Adua, 7-point agenda. Goodluck Jonathan, have his own agenda. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have his Renew Hope agenda, not APC. So, and meanwhile, when you look at it theoretically, political science-wise, and how it should be, a political party is stronger than a candidate, because it is the political party that feed the candidate, that say, look, you are being elected to go and execute our ideology, our programs. So as it is now, you can't say, for instance, let's go to even Osun, you can't say PDP have like about 18 years agenda that it doesn't matter who comes to power, they have to follow it. You can't say APC have that at the national level. In fact, what President Buhari done for 8 years, President Tinubu is already doing another thing for, now. And again, you even see them even acting as if the present regime is an opposition to the other one, which they are actually in the same party. So one of the things you have to see when you talk about ideology is that the party programs supersede whoever is there. And when you are deviating, they can call you back and say, look, this is what we believe in. And permit me to say this under 1 second. If not because the party, Republican, and the system, and the system in America is stronger than Trump, then we will have seen another thing. So, and that is to tell you that we need to build strong political party as against strong individuals that we have in those political parties that determine anything, and then they come back with their own agenda.
All right, so let's just talk about the preparation to the elections, main elections, starting with Edo State. With what you have observed so far, especially with the primaries that took place in Edo State, different parts of Edo State, different political parties, How do you think the main day will play out for these candidates? I mean, are we going to see more issues of violence compared to what we had in the last election in 2020? You know, I want you to know, as an observer, you might have observed the election, the primaries in Edo State, and of course the former main elections in the state. What do you think we should expect, you know, coming forward in September 2024?
Okay, so I'm going to compartmentalize these, and in terms of violence, I am more worried for Ondo than
Okay.
Edo State. So even tracking the two, you find out that Ondo has recorded more cases of violence now, even than Edo State, when it comes to election. And I'm specifically talking about electoral violence now. And so that is a cause for concern. But again, that may not play out on election day, but we are likely going to see that violence taking place before the election. Why did I say it's not going to play out on election day? If you look at most of the off-cycle election in Nigeria, now the security agency have a lot of they are able to deploy more than what the states even need to police that particular election day. So for instance, now you will just hear the High Inspector General of Police announcing like about 35,000 police is going to be deployed in Ondo, and then 40,000 is going to be deployed in Edo. So which means they are going to bring in more people from the state and then from other states and put them there. So that's most times on election day pull down the cases of violence. And that is why you have more violence on election day in general election than in off cycle. So on election day, and look at that statistic, or when you look at it, what happened on election day, you have more cases in general election than in off-cycle. Because in general election, you don't have that laxity to say you are taking 30,000 to a particular state. Everybody is having election on the same day. So, but if you look at it from that perspective, they will flood the gate with a lot of police, DSS, civil defense, and all of them will be there. So you're likely going to see it play down on election and on election day. Then the other area where I am worried, and we have seen that kind of correlation, is that heavy deployment, there is a way it always reduce voter turnout. So we need to start talking about voter turnout. And you know, in Nigeria, it has always been reducing. Even in Bayelsa, in Imo, it reduced. In the last off-cycle election.
Right.
So we need to begin to see what we are going to look at. And again, when you look at INEC preparation, they are preparing according to their calendar. But the most important, the last thing on their calendar was to give the final for Edo, to release the final list of the candidates. And then we are expecting any moment from now or next, any moment, maybe next month, that of Ondo will be released. So if you look at that, that is going on. But one of the things we need to see is that this preparation translates to effectiveness on the election day. And it's one thing we like to see.
All right. So what about the Ondo election? Looking at antecedents of what happened in the last election and what has been happening in the primary. And of course, I'd also like to ask concerning the issue in APC, you know, the issue of their primary. We can see some aspirants calling for the cancellation of the election. Jimo Ibrahim has gone to court and is calling for the court to cancel the election, calling the primary a mega fraud. How do you think this will augur for the APC, into the main election?
Well, I think the political party, there is a way they always have means of resolving their problems, and so internally, at some point in time, I remember sometimes ago they've set up like a reconciliatory committee to look into some of these, and if they're able to pull that through, so what it means is that people like Jimo Ibrahim might eventually withdraw their cases from courts. And if they're able to reconcile, and then may even withdraw their cases from court. But one thing I am very sure is not going to happen from the political party is that they will cancel that party primaries from the political party decision, the national, that they will cancel that political party. No, from the point of the political party, Lucky Aiyedatiwa remains the authentic candidate. Now, the only thing that can, cancel that party primary is the court by court order, and I think that is the only thing now, and that is the only thing that can cancel that. Now, having said that, one of the things you also need to look at again is that it's typical of Jimoh Ibrahim also to do some of these things. You will recall when he was in PDP, he gone to court and also destabilize the chances of Eyita Ojegede then. He keep going to court on primaries and a whole lot of things and things like that. So maybe at this point in time, the political party can just look at the antecedent and say, oh, they are not going to take him serious. And at the same time, political party also look at who is the rabble-rouser here, what is the electoral value in terms of does he have the clout to also destabilize our vote? So they consider most of these things, whether they should ignore or not. But with the office as a senator of the Federal Republic, Jimoh Ibrahim is holding, I don't think they are going to ignore him because it also carry weight.
Mr. Idowu, what about the purported INEC report? INEC observed that primary, and it was said that in that report they said election did not take place in majority of the wards in Ondo State, and I think that is what the aggrieved aspirant and also the opposition are capitalizing on. But then there is the APC saying in Ondo State saying this is a family affair. We tend to determine what happens in our family. The INEC was just there to observe, so they cannot actually tell us what goes on in our family. I'd like you to react to that. Do you think the report by INEC holds any ground or water when it comes to what happens in the APC?
Number one, there are courts decision precedents that I will first of all talk from the opposition part. There are courts decision and precedent that have established that, look, you cannot, as opposition, maybe PDP, you cannot meddle in the internal affair of other political parties. So likewise, the APC cannot go to courts and say this is happening within PDP. In fact, in that judgment, they were referred to as busybody. So I think they can only shout. Probably the only thing they can do is to support a candidate who, or an aspirant in that political party to go to court and destabilize it. But I don't see the opposition going to court to say, look, based on the report of INEC, they should cancel this because they are not in that political party. But let's now come to INEC report. Yeah. INEC report is not meant, to be indicting. That is number one. The law says they have to observe the report, the election. And now where it became an issue, where it will become an issue in court is that if the election was not observed by INEC as stipulated by the law. So, but the law did not say INEC observed the election, the party primary, and come up with your report will determine whether it's credible or not. No, they were observers. So that report, whether its election did not take place in almost, some wards, does not hold water. It's not going to stand in court because they were not meant to pass a verdict. They are meant to just observe. And one of the things their report has established is that on that said date, party primaries took place. So it is now for the court to, and I think that is where their job ends, to just observe. And that is where their job ends, if you ask me. But to say they are going to now tender report of INEC in court and say INEC said election did not hold in most of these places, well, I'm happy to see how they will argue that in court, because according to the law, it doesn't, INEC is not meant to release a report and say, hey, the election is credible or the election did not hold. And then you should also be very curious about that report, because this will be the first time you will be hearing INEC report on party primaries that they have not been making public before, saying things categorically about party primary. Then you have to be curious about that report. In fact, in some instances, in some quarters, some people are still querying that particular report that it doesn't, it did not emanated from INEC. So these are the things you also need to also look at. But in most INEC reports in the past, they always come to say, look, they observed the party primaries, and it took place in this location, and that is all as stipulated, because the law say INEC must observe, be present in your party primaries.
So are you tending towards the argument from the APC saying that there might have been a compromise from INEC or a connivance between INEC and the opposition to water down the primary that held, the APC primary that held in Ondo State?
So, and Evelyn, this is what, and I think I have to be very frank here. Has any one of us seen that report on INEC website? Have any one of us seen that report on INEC X handle, Facebook, or any of the official communication channel of INEC? Has any one of us witnessed any, how will I put it now, press briefing by INEC releasing this report?
Yeah.
Now, has anybody also seen INEC report on Edo that even had primary election in February? Did we see any report? So technically, some of us are questioning that report, that probably it did not come from INEC. And that is my position.
All right.
All right. Quickly, before I ask my question, just a follow up on that. Do you think it's intentional, for political parties to try and smear, the integrity or the position of the umpire, INEC? Because we spoke to the director of media and publicity of APC in Ondo State a few days ago on this program, and he said, though he can't substantiate, but the workings of the PDP and what they said when APC were having their election, and this perceived, quote unquote report is showing that maybe there may be connivance. Do you think it's intentional for political parties to always try to throw INEC or state institutions under the bus when it doesn't favor them?
So I think here, what is playing out here is what we call misinformation and disinformation. And depending on the side divide you are, people tend to use it to their advantage.
Right.
And I give you an example. During the last election tribunal at the presidential level, so when a particular narrative comes out, and whether it's true or not, for instance, I give you an example. When they said, Fashola is writing judgment, then the opposition can play on that. Then, because they will play on that and say, exactly, this is what is going on, this is what is going on. And that is politics for you. So if you ask me, they are just playing on this. And like I said, why do you think APC primary is so unique that like about 16 political parties had primaries in Edo, like 17 political parties have primaries in Ondo, and INEC did not release report for any of them. It's only APC they release report for. So that tells you something is fishy somewhere.
Fishy, all right.
And I think, don't forget, even the head of the legal department of INEC is a senior advocate of Nigeria. So they know the law, and I don't think they are going to release such reports.
Right. Quickly, before we go to the conversation about elections and AI, like 2 weeks ago, There was this report that emanated saying that despite irregularities, 2023 poll reflected the will of Nigerians. And it was attributed to the 2023 country reports on human rights practices. And it was published by the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, U.S. Department of State, and they highlighted human rights practices and violations in different countries. They highlight rather human rights practices and violations in different countries, including Nigeria. And the report says that supporters of the APC suppressed votes. They were categorical. Suppressed votes in Igbo-dominated areas during the March 2023 governorship election in Lagos. And let me quote them. They said national elections were widely reported to have reflected the will of voters, despite technical and logistical difficulties and some irregularities. Many independent observers assessed the result of the presidential, legislative, and state-level elections during the year reflected the will of voters, despite reports of voter suppression and vote buying, campaigning at polling stations, lack of ballot secrecy, violence, and intimidation. During the March 18 state election in Lagos, APC supporters reportedly intimidated and suppressed voters in Igbo-dominated areas, which Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi won in the February 25 national elections. They were very categorical. In fact, they said viral videos on social media showed APC supporters in Ojo, a local government in Lagos, threatening to attack ethnic Igbo voters presumed to be pro-Obi, and this is just a part of that report, and saying that despite technical and logistical difficulties and some irregularities, it reflected the will of Nigerians. Now, two quick questions here, Mr. Idowu. Your organization, KDI, observed that same election. You have been on ground for a while. Does this resonate with your own report as well? Because I know you've had a review of the elections over and over, and you had your report. Does this tally or, have a semblance to what KDI has, because you're on ground as well? And number two, when, the Department of State, you released the report as saying it reflected the will of Nigerians. Now, carefully speaking, does this mean the will of Nigerians based on how they voted, like it was the candidate of the APC they really voted for, or it means that Nigerians wanted it to be anyhow and they have gotten it anyhow? I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yes. So I think the first thing is that I read that. I mean, I saw that report, and if you look at that report, it's a very diplomatic report.
Okay.
And that if you read that report, I can tell you, you can't find their stand on that election.
Oh.
Please, just do me a favor, go back and where you just read, just read the first 3 lines.
Okay. National elections were widely reported to have reflected the will of voters, despite technical and logistical difficulties and some irregularities.
So now there's a place you read that talks about several independent observers.
It says many independent observers assessed the results of the presidential, legislative, and state level elections during the year reflected the will of voters, despite reports of vote suppression and vote buying, campaigning at polling stations, lack of ballot secrecy, violence, and intimidation.
Exactly, that is what I am trying to say. That look, one of the things they have been able to do was to say, look, some of the because the DRL, the Department of Labor, did not have any observers on ground. So what they did was to pull reports, and then read that through. So, and what they have done is that, look, many of these reports, the conclusion of this report is that election reflects the will of the people. However, or despite the fact that there are loads of irregularities. So they started mentioning the irregularities. Yeah. So they started mentioning violence, suppression of votes in Igbo-dominated areas, and they start talking about that. So at that particular point in time, that has put us on two major levels. Okay, people voted, people that were able to make it to vote, and they are saying, look, their vote counted. However, there were also irregularities in that election. And I think is a good way to say that the election reflects the will of the people, but we still have a long way to go. So it's a good way to say what we used to say when we were in primary school, that what we had in that election was wuru to the answer. You know, we did not look at the whole process. We just want to get the answer. So it is, and you know, in WAEC, when they said they were marking the steps, but you just find out that you just arrive at the answer. So we did not mind the process, but that is exactly what we said. Because if you have to look at the process and what makes credible election credible, then they are saying it does not fit in. But if you have to count votes, you are counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then they said it reflects what the people voted for. And I think that is putting that result in perspective. So put it in perspective, when you count the votes, it reflects what the people voted for.
Mr. Idowu, please quickly let me hang in this before Evelyn comes in now, because we are short of time, and I think this is very instructive. That report stated that the Nigerian government has not consistently implemented anti-corruption laws. It said there was widespread corruption across the country, including in the judiciary. In August, now let me quote them. In August, President Tinubu appointed former Governor Abubakar Bagudu the Minister of Budget, despite Bagudu's widely reported history of helping then President Sani Abacha steal hundreds of millions of dollars from the government in the 1990s. Police arrested former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele on June 10 and charged him and a co-defendant with defrauding the government of 6.5 billion naira, that is $10.4 million, later reduced to 1.6 billion naira. Mr. Idowu, does the U.S. have power to say all these? Isn't this meddling in our affairs?
I don't think so. It's not about no. This is not meddling in
because
our
they even
affair.
talked about the judiciary.
Yeah.
Nigeria is a sovereign state, isn't it?
Yes, to meddle into our affair is to begin to dictate what we should do.
Okay.
But what they have done is to release a report of what they observe. So so let's take the Bagudu case as an instance now.
They were even categorical.
Categorical, because the man was one of the people Abacha used to launder money to US, to Swiss. So this is someone who is
that's a strong statement there, Mr. Idowu.
That I'm quoting the reports.
Okay.
I'm quoting the report, and there are several reports before then. You know, so, or let me put it this way, I withdraw that, but he was one of the people alleged to have been used now to launder money. Now, and this is somebody that was also alleged to be on the watch list of the US. Now, the same person, now a minister in Nigeria, you know, and then you now begin to say, look, what exactly is going now? Don't forget, what they have done is not different from what Transparency International will do, Amnesty International will do. Most of the rating organizations are saying, look, in rankings, and this is what is affecting our ranking in terms of corruption in anti-corruption index. So when you look at some of these things, these are the things. So it is not about meddling into in our affair. For instance, to say they are meddling in our affair is to say, look, they are telling us, oh, you have to remove the Chief Justice of Nigeria because there is corruption in that particular place. They will be meddling into our affair. For instance, for them to say, look, your election, I mean, this person is supposed not to be your president. They will be meddling into our affair.
All right, Mr. Idowu, we have less than 3 minutes to go. I will still want to check the AI and election.
Yeah, you know, we saw what, you know, on your page and also KDI's page on election AI. We know AI is the future. for so many things in the world today. And I was particularly thrilled when I saw that graphics, if we can actually put it up. You know, election AI is here. I know you said we should anticipate till June, but it will not be bad since we have you here for you to just give us a hint what this is all about. I'm sure our viewers also will be interested in election AI. Everyone wants to know what this is all about.
So this of course, like you rightly said, AI is the new is just the future, and that is where everybody is now.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we are trying to do is that how do we bring this into election and strengthen the electoral process and make it very, very good in a way that then it becomes technology driven. So one of the things we have done, the tech team in KDI has done, is to see how we introduce AI in terms of civic participation and then voter education, basically like that. And I tell you, if you see the kind of amazing work this tech team have done and that have simplified the whole process and make it so interesting that one of the things we expect, the result we expect out of this is that we expect that this is not going to be, we expect that voter turnout will increase after the introduction of this. I am happy to discuss this further. I know you don't have enough time now. I'm happy at any point, and I will also carry you along by the time we are launching these. But I tell you, it is something that we have done, in collaboration with some other internationally recognized technology-driven organization that we are pushing and introducing in Nigeria, our first of its kind.
So you consider this a game changer for the future of elections in Nigeria?
It's a game changer. It's a game changer. I'm telling you, it's a game changer.
All right, we would like to thank you specially, for giving us this audience and speaking to us on the electioneering in Nigeria, focusing on the off-cycle elections in Ondo and Edo State. We are so happy and grateful to have you here, Mr. Bukola Idowu, Executive Director, Pact Development Initiative. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right, and have for yourself a good day.
Yeah.
All right, that's the conversation. It's always, a great time with Mr. Idowu. Whenever we were talking about elections, he's so passionate about elections, and little wonder how he has focused, on elections in Nigeria. And it is one thing that everyone as a Nigerian, we should also be interested in, because this is what brings in the people that make the policies, make the laws. So the decisions, the major decisions. I mean, there's a particular policy now everyone is crying about at this time, lamenting, So we have to bring in the right people, ensure that we are invested and interested in the electioneering process as much as we are interested also, in governance. Femi.
Yes, and of course I agree totally. And then, not just the election, but staying, with the whole process, even in governance, holding leaders accountable. It doesn't end with the thumb printing. It ends when it ends, you know. That's the way it should be. Thank you for being with us all week. It's a wrap on this week's edition of Morning Spring. You have been the MVP. Femi Ojo is my name. Thank you, Evelyn, as well, for being here. And big thank you to the backroom boys, everybody who have been part of this production. We meet again, God willing, on Monday. Go have a very good weekend. Go groove your weekend.
Groove your weekend. Just roll up your sleeves. You can see my sleeves are already rolled up already.
God bless Nigeria. I'll see you next week.
All right. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Have for yourself a good and fabulous weekend. Have fun, but ensure to do it in moderation. Bye-bye.